very good evening to all of you, and we're ready to bring you the top stories from home and around the world with tonight's English news on ChannelEye. I'm ChannelEye Rupavahini.
Good evening, I'm Lakshita Singha, and we start off by taking a quick look at the headlines for tonight. Buddhist devotees throughout the world commemorate the Vesak ceremony according to health guidelines. The President instructs health divisions to utilize the second stock of the Sinopharm vaccine from today. Indian authorities say daily corona death toll exceeding 4,000 has become a serious problem. Defense Secretary says there should not be unnecessary fears on the travel restrictions imposed by the US. Signs emerge on the Singapore ship being destroyed by fire. Ireland condemns Israeli actions.
The Vesak full moon Poya Day, which falls on today, has given way to occurrence of several important events in the history of the Buddha Shasana, including the birth of Prince Siddhartha, the attainment of Buddhahood by the Bodhisattva, and the passing away of Lord Buddha. Buddhists throughout the world celebrate Samudra Themagula by remaining in their homes. The Buddhist philosophy acknowledges that the emergence of the Buddha is an extremely rare and supreme incident which takes place only once in several millions of years. It was on a day like today that the Prince Siddhartha was born in a garden of sunflowers in Lumbini in Kimbulwatpura. The Bodhisattva had attained Buddhahood by understanding the Four Noble Truths on Vesak Day. This has led the way for the humankind to supreme bliss of Nirvana and to terminate sansaric existence. The passing of the Lord Buddha at a sunflower garden of the Malla kings in Kusinara had also taken place on a Vesak full moon Poya Day. The other noteworthy events of this noble and sacred day included the Bodhisattva attaining Niyata Vivarana from Deepankara Lord Buddha, Lord Buddha's visit to the Kimbulwatpura, performance of the Yama Mahapilahara to break the arrogance of the Shakya clansmen, the Lord Buddha's third visit to Sri Lanka, and the placing of the sacred footprint on top of the Samanala mountain. Sri Lankans, enriched by the noble teachings of the Buddhism, have been commemorating in grand scale the Vesak festival with great devotion since the days of the ancient kings.
Now, in the meantime, the Mahanayaka Theros of the three Nikayas say that the most appropriate path to be followed at this moment is to engage in pujas based on virtuous policies by remaining at homes according to the health guidelines. The Mahanayaka Theros, issuing a message in connection with the Vesak Day, further point out that it is the duty and responsibility of every person to safeguard social security by fully understanding the teachings of the Tathagata Samma Sambuddha. The Vesak full moon Poya Day is the most noble, commemorative, meritorious ceremony of the Buddhist community throughout the world. This sacred day commemorates the birth and attainment of enlightenment or Buddhahood by Siddhartha Bodhisattva and the passing away of Lord Buddha. It is the customary practice of the Buddhists worldwide to lighten their lives through the practicing of Amisa and Pratipatti pujas, as preached by the Lord Gautama Buddha. However, as a result of the worldwide corona pandemic, the devotees are compelled to restrict their Vesak religious observances to their residences. The Buddhist community has been educated on how to engage in Vesak Day commemorations according to the instructions of the Mahasangha. The Vesak Day message of the Mahanayaka Theros of the three Nikayas also point out that the Buddhists are being entrusted with the responsibility of acting with the relentless dedication for the safety of themselves and others. They should understand appropriately the sermons of the Tathagata, which says that good health is the prime advantage of the living beings. The message issued jointly by the Mahanayaka of the Malvatta chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thera, Mahanayaka of the Asgiriya chapter, Most Venerable Varakakoda Sri Jnanaratana Thera, Acting Mahanayaka of the Amarapura Mahanikaya, Most Venerable Gantune Assaji Thera, and Mahanayaka of the Sri Lanka Ramanya Mahanikaya, Most Venerable Makulave Vimala Thera, also extends best wishes for good health for entire world community and the immediate elimination of the corona pandemic. Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, in a message says that it is not possible at this moment to meaningfully commemorate the three great events of the Vesak festival due to the corona pandemic. The Most Reverend Archbishop points out that, however, this would still be an opportunity to enliven the message of Buddha Dhamma in a greater depth. His Eminence also points out that there are Buddhist devotees throughout the world who have truly understood and live according to the noble Dharma philosophy inherited to the world by Lord Buddha. Sri Lanka is a fine example of religious civilization nurtured by the noble vision of the Buddha Dharma. It is also a common heritage of all Sri Lankans who adhere to the spiritual and cultural civility of Sri Lanka. The Most Reverend Archbishop further points out that this spiritual background has contributed for a noble way of living for a follower of any religious faith. The Archbishop of Colombo in his Vesak Day message also says that all Sri Lankans are now being directed on a path to act in unity and to respect each other's religious beliefs in order to create a more virtuous and a vibrant society. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, issuing a message in connection with the Vesak Day, says that it is our societal duty in the face of the COVID-19 epidemic to dedicate ourselves to the protection and well-being of the lives of others as preached by the Gautama Buddha. The President further points out that, like last year, Sri Lanka has lost the opportunity to engage in religious observances collectively this year as well on the recommendations of the health sector due to the global COVID-19 pandemic. Sri Lankan Buddhists must be determined to engage in Amisa and Pratipatti pujas with great veneration towards the three noble events or the Themagula by staying at homes. It is a responsibility of all of us to commit ourselves for the preservation of safety of ourselves and others. The President's Vesak message further points out that the Vesak festival is a fine opportunity for the Buddhists to exemplify the noble characteristics of the Buddha Dharma to the world. The President also recalls that we should keep in mind the advice given by the Venerable Mahanayaka Theros to hold the state Vesak festival only symbolically in view of the current pandemic in the country. The President has also extended wishes for the ceasing of all physical and mental distresses of all people in the country and across the world with the practice of rites by preserving pehevas in a meritorious mind in this Vesak season. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa in his Vesak message says that this year's national Vesak ceremony was scheduled to be conducted centering the Nagadipa Rajamahaviharaya in Jaffna. However, the prevailing pandemic has caused an obstruction to these plans. The Prime Minister further points out that the pandemic should not be an obstruction to commemorate this noble day in a meaningful manner. Prominence should be given to Pratipatti pujas to be observed at homes. The Prime Minister also wishes healthy lifestyles for all people upon elimination of the COVID pandemic. He also says that he extends these wishes as the Prime Minister as well as the Minister in charge of Buddha Sasana and religious affairs. Opposition leader Sajith Premdasa's Vesak Day message says since the times of immemorial, the powers of the Triple Gem have become an immense refuge to the Sri Lankan and the world at times of plague, drought and other natural calamities. The real meaning of the Buddha Dharma is to commemorate the Themagula, giving prominence to the preservation of the environment. The leader of the opposition also extends wishes for the emergence of a healthy world through the blessings of the Buddhist virtues. Minister of Mass Media Dr. Keheliya Rambukwella, issuing a message, says that the realistic philosophy of Buddhism is becoming invaluable to the world as never before. The Buddha Dharma is enriched with the immense truthfulness that had eliminated the three types of fears in Vishala city in ancient India. The minister in his message also wishes that the Vesak ceremony being commemorated at a crucial juncture in the human history would pave the way for the healthy lifestyles and spiritual comfort of the people in Sri Lanka and throughout the world.
Meanwhile, the Amadam Sisilasa monthly Dhamma sermon, which is being conducted on every full moon Poya day, was conducted at the temple trees today as well under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. It was organised according to health guidelines. Today's program was the 210th in the series of Amadam Sisilasa Dhamma programs conducted with the objective of creating a society based on virtue and wisdom. The other persons who have attended the event included Madam Shiranti Wickramasinghe Rajapaksa, State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral and family members of the Prime Minister. The sermon was delivered by the head of Sri Sumana sector of the Sri Lanka Amarapura Mahanikaya and founder of the Sri Devuram Vihara Pannipitiya, Venerable Dr. Kolonnawe Sri Sumangala Thera. The topic of the sermon was Importance of the Meritorious Vesak Poya Day and the Impermanence of Life.
කරපු ආරක්ෂාවට වඩා දරුණු ව්‍යසනයක් හෙට ඇති කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම කරන්න ස්වභාව ධර්මයට ඉඩ දෙන්න එපා.
The Saddharma Varsha Vesak Full Moon Poya Day program, organised by the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, was conducted at the corporation premises today. The morning Buddha Puja and the Silk campaign of the devotees was conducted by the head of the Seruila Buddhist Centre, Venerable Kotapala Amarakiti Thero. The noon Buddha Puja was performed by Venerable Pussallayaye Chandima Thero of the Sunitra Devi Mahapirivena in Papiliana. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Reginald Kure, and Director General Ajit Naragala was also present on the occasion. The fifth of a series of Youth Sila Samadhi program conducted according to a concept of Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Namal Rajapaksha, was held at the Seema Malaka of the Gangarama Viharaya. The Registrar of the Deshapremi Bhikkhu Peramuna, Venerable Bengamui Nalaka Thero, was presided over under the patronage of the chief incumbent of the Gangarama Viharaya in performing the SIL campaign in a group headed by Minister Namal Rajapaksha. The Rupavahini crew have observed how the devotees were commemorating the Vesak ceremony in their homes due to the coronavirus expansion. A deserted outlook was observed in all viharayas, which in other Poya days filled with devotees. However, daily religious observances has been observed at these viharayas. Such religious activities have also been performed at the historic Sri Dalanda Maligawa Kandy without the participation of devotees. No crowds were seen at the sacred Jayasri Mahabodhi and the Ruwanveli Mahasaya in Anuradhapura as well. Depositing of relics on the Lying Buddha statue being constructed at the Nagadeepa Purana Rajamaha Viharaya has taken place today under the leadership of Commander of the Northern Naval Brigade, Rear Admiral Priyantha Pereira.
The fire ravaging in the Singapore-based Express Pearl container ship was reported to be spreading to the rear of the vessel near the control cabin. Containers and other parts fallen from the ship were seen piled up on the beaches in Negombo and Chilau. People were seen arriving in the beach to collect these items this afternoon. The Marine Environmental Protection Authority and the Central Environmental Authority state that touching and collecting of the refuse would be extremely dangerous as they may contain poisonous chemical substances. The fire was reported to have engulfed the entire Express Pearl ship, currently located 9.5 nautical miles northeast of the Colombo harbour. It has also been reported that the chances of rescuing the ship are extremely remote. Despite the repeated warnings by the Navy, Marine Environmental Protection Authority and the Disaster Management Centre, as well as the Department of Coastal Conservation, to the residents in the coastal areas not to touch the piled up items in the beach, the people were seen collecting these items. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has informed the relevant sections to focus more attention to minimize any damage caused as a result of excessive oil leakage from the ship. The tugboats of the Sri Lanka Navy and the Bell 212 of the Sri Lanka Air Force have sprayed around 850 kilos of dried chemicals on the ship with the aim of dousing the fire. Meanwhile, the Marine Environmental Protection Authority says that measures are being taken to minimize pollution to the environment. Newly appointed Attorney General President's Counsel Sanjay Rajaratnam was sworn in before President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the President's office this afternoon. Mr. Sanjay Rajaratnam is the 48th Attorney General of Sri Lanka. He has completed 34 years of service at the Attorney General's Department. He has held the posts of Senior State Attorney, Deputy Solicitor General, Additional Solicitor General, Senior Additional Solicitor General and Acting Solicitor General. Mr. Rajaratnam has taken oaths as a President's Counsel in 2014. President Secretary Dr. P.B. Jayasundara was also present on the occasion of the swearing-in of the new Attorney General. In the meantime, strong winds and rainfall lashed India's eastern coast in the morning today ahead of the landfall of cyclone Yas. More than 1 million people in neighboring India have been evacuated as the cyclone started marking landfall on its eastern coast. This is the second cyclone to hit the country in a week after Cyclone Tauktae killed more than 150 people, while India is already struggling to mitigate the severely spreading COVID-19 outbreak. The cyclone have lashed coastal areas with ferocious wind and rain as it made landfall, damaging properties. India's meteorological department have stated that the low-lying areas near the coast have been inundated due to the rain and tidal surges accompanying the cyclone. Many coastal villages in the state of West Bengal have been flooded by seawater. It's been reported that groups of Indian Army are being deployed to rescue people stranded in a coastal district as the storm surges.
More than 1 million people have been evacuated and tens of thousands of mud houses have been destroyed in eastern India as the second powerful cyclone in a week brought storm surges to coastal areas. Cyclone Yas was packing gusts of up to 87 miles per hour as it hit land, authorities said, days after Tauktae tore up the western coast, piling pressure on authorities already battling the country's intense coronavirus disaster. The state of West Bengal says about 20,000 mud houses and temporary shelters in the state have been damaged or levelled. Cyclones in the Bay of Bengal are common at this time of year and often roar ashore, bringing death and destruction to the coastal areas of both India and neighbouring Bangladesh.
Meanwhile, the Yas minor storm, which has developed in the sea northeast of the Bay of Bengal, was reported to have entered India across the beachfront of eastern Odisha. The Department of Meteorology says that the impact of the storm over the Sri Lanka and the surrounding sea area would gradually lessen. However, rainfall and strong winds in the southwestern part of the island would increase from time to time in the next few days as well due to the prevailing southwestern monsoon weather condition. Accordingly, heavy rainfall is expected in the shallow and deep seas from Puttalam to Colombo and also from Galle to Hambantota via Pottuவில். The department informs the fishing and naval communities not to engage in activities as the wind speed may increase abruptly. An earth slip has occurred on the road near the Kotmale Reservoir Dam as a result of the rainy weather condition. Engineer in charge of the reservoir says that the earth slip may have caused due to the blocking of an underground water current. Four sluice gates of the Polgola Reservoir have been opened due to heavy rainfall in Kandy. 11,500 square feet of water are being released in a second. Many properties, including high-power cable system, have been damaged due to strong winds across Kosgama. Our correspondent says a power breakdown has occurred. Several buildings and power cable systems in the Hiovita have been damaged due to falling of trees as a result of strong winds. Several houses in the Devalayagawa Gram Seva division have been damaged due to inclement weather in Ratnapura today. Fifteen houses in Nuwa Paranagama and Valimada have been damaged due to strong winds affecting the Valimada Valley. The Yas minor storm is travelling at a speed of 155 km per hour across eastern Odisha state in India. Indian meteorologists say more than 1 million residents have been relocated in safer places. This is the second tornado affecting India within a week.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has informed health authorities to utilize the 500,000 doses of the second stock of the Sinopharm vaccine from today. This was an outright grant of the government of China to Sri Lanka. The manufacturing of Sinovac vaccine of China is to commence in Sri Lanka within the next 2 months as a joint venture. The aircraft carrying the stock of vaccine has landed at the Katunaik International Airport at dawn today. Chinese Ambassador Chi Sen-hong has handed over the stock to Health Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi. Ministers Prasanna Ranatunga, State Ministers Professor Channa Jayasumana, D.V. Chanaka and officials in the health sector were also present at the handing over event.
most powerful weapons fight the pandemic. And a vaccine sharing is the only magic solution to ultimately defeat the pandemic. At the Global Health Summit on May 21st, Chinese President Xi Jinping announced that China has offered $2 billion in aid so far to developing countries, as well as free vaccines for 8 countries, with 43 other countries importing his vaccines, in continued support for global solidarity against COVID-19.
Sri Lanka has received 1.26 million Covishield vaccines and 1.1 million Sinopharm vaccines, as well as 15,000 Sputnik V vaccines for the country's vaccination program. Accordingly, the total quantity of vaccines received amounts to 2.37 million. The first dose of the Covishield vaccine has been provided to 925,242 persons. The first dose of the Sinopharm vaccine has also been provided to 1,565 persons yesterday. Accordingly, 517,824 persons have received both of these vaccines. There were 14,984 persons who have received the first dose of the Sputnik V vaccine. The number of those who have received only the first dose of the COVID immunization vaccines is 1.458 million. The second dose of the Covishield vaccine has been provided to 2,349 persons yesterday. The total number who have received the Covishield vaccine is 340,842. 28 COVID-19 related deaths have been confirmed yesterday. The deaths have occurred between the period 18th and 25th of this month. Accordingly, the total number of COVID deaths have increased to 1,269. The Civil Aviation Services Authority says that it has been decided to withdraw the temporary travel ban imposed on airline passengers arriving in Sri Lanka from abroad with effect from 1st of next month. However, the relevant ban will remain effective on airline passengers who have travelled in India 14 days prior to their date of arrival.
Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne says that unnecessary fears need not to be entertained regarding the travel restrictions issued by the United States. He further says that the institutions engaged in safeguarding of national security of the country, including the Defence Ministry and the 3 armed forces, have fully consolidated the security. A communique issued by the Ministry of Defence says that the US has issued 4th-level travel restrictions on Sri Lanka, taking into consideration of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The government has taken measures to implement a program to release prisoners under a presidential pardon in connection with the National Vesak Day. It is being implemented according to a request made from the President by the Minister of Justice. State Minister Lohan Ratwatte states that, however, detainees accused of serious crimes will not be exempted from the presidential pardon. 247 prisoners sentenced with lifelong prison terms have become eligible to receive the clemency of the President. 53 of such prisoners have received freedom and left the Valikada prison today. The prison sentences of the other 974 prisoners have been downgraded as normal prisoners.